Remember the slogan, "Inquiring minds want to know"? It seems to be human nature that we want answers to our questions. And the challenge is there aren't always answers to our questions. In the Talmud, there are discussions that end with, "It's a question." And sometimes that's how life is. We don't have answers to many of our questions. But what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to inquire, we're supposed to look into things, we're supposed to investigate, we're supposed to think about and ponder what's going on in our lives, what's going on in the world, and try to find some way of responding. So what do we do if we can't have an answer? The next best thing to an answer to a question is a context for a question. And we find that in this week's Parsha of SAVO. The Jewish people are told that when they come into the land of Israel and they have their first fruits, they're supposed to bring them to a place that God will designate, which we know is Yerushalayim, is Jerusalem, and that when they come with their first fruits, they are supposed to say a declaration, to make a declaration. And the wording for the declaration, which interestingly is the basis of the text for our Haggadah for Passover, is an evaluation, is a recitation of the Jewish people's suffering in the land of Egypt. It starts off with an Aramean tried to destroy my father, who we know is Jacob, who went down to Egypt, and there the Egyptians tormented us, they persecuted us, they oppressed us, we called out to God, and God saved us, and now we have come into the land of Israel, and here are my fruits, and I bring them joyfully to Jerusalem, and I bow down to God, and I thank God for all the good that He has done for me. But we have to pause for a moment, because part of the declaration was talking about all of our suffering and all of the pain and the oppression that we went through. So what is it? We're talking about our pain and oppression, or we're talking about how grateful we are to God? I think what this really tells us is that the coming with our fruits puts all of the oppression and the suffering into a context where we see the bigger picture and we see the whole story. When we see the whole story, we have a context for how we experience the oppression. It's a little bit like a person going through pregnancy and labor and delivery. If one was to only focus on the pain of the delivery, or sometimes the pain of the pregnancy and the discomfort, without the context of seeing the baby at the end, then it changes the way we experience the suffering. Or even any other medical procedure. Somebody can go through a painful surgery, a painful operation, a painful treatment, but if they know that it's all to help them get better or to live their lives to a fuller capacity, then we experience that suffering in a different way. Pain with purpose is a context for how we have our understanding of our life. So while it does not ever say in the text of the Torah or the text of the declaration why we had to go through the suffering, why we had to be in Egypt, why we have pain in our lives, why bad things happen to good people, we don't get the answers to those questions, but we have a context for the question. When someone passes away and we make a Shiva call, what we say to them is, Hamakom Yenachem Etchem B'toch Sha'ar Avelei Tzion V'Yerushalayim. May God, the omnipresent one, comfort you amongst all the mourners for Zion and Jerusalem. We could ask, what do the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem have anything to do with the fact that my mother or my father or my loved one passed away? But when I know that my loss and my pain is in the context of a broader story of humanity that is moving ever closer to ultimate redemption, then I have a way of sitting with my discomfort in a way that cushions it and gives purpose and meaning to what I'm experiencing. When we come into the land of Israel, then we have, and we come with our first fruits, then we have a context for what was that suffering all about. I don't know the answer to the question, but I have a context for it. May we all be blessed to create a context and understand the context of everything we go through, both pleasant and painful, so that our lives have meaning and that we come before God and say thank you for all of the good that has been given to us in our life. Have a wonderful Shabbos.